What a show that was.
What a thriller. They tried as hard as they could to not let us win that one, hey?
Yeah, that was. The refs just aren't happy, and Toronto's just not happy unless they're putting their 2 cents into every game, right? That
Yeah.
was just that was just too much.
Quite a couple of challenged plays there. One of them was successful, and the other one was obviously not. The overtime winner from Kadri from Huberdeau. Big game from Huberdeau too.
Yeah, he had a
Ended
really
the
good
game
game.
with 3 assists and also had a really beautiful pass on the disallowed goal from Backlund.
Yeah, they've only credited him for 2 assists, so I'm actually I'm not sure why. I thought it was three as well.
Really, they've only credited him for two. I'm gonna because the score had him up for three when I first looked after the game.
Did they?
Uh, apparently the Hannafin goal was Backlund and Coleman, not Backlund and Huberdeau, even though it was really obvious to me that Huberdeau made a really nice pass over to Hannafin, but
Hmm.
maybe it hit more than one person on the way over. Either way, the
Yeah,
general idea is Huberdeau made several nice passes that ended up in goals, and
yeah.
if that continues, hopefully some people will shut the fuck up, including us, about Huberdeau not producing because you know that
I
would be
mean,
nice.
he's had a pretty decent couple of weeks. He's obviously had his struggles early on, but I mean, he's done really well with Backlund and Coleman. It's tough to it's tough to swallow the fact that we have a $21 million third line, but it is what it is. It's I think it's good. They're gelling well. I think it's really brought Coleman into the fold as well. Coleman's really has really been looking sharp ever since Huberdeau got on that line as well.
Well, I think Coleman's actually had a strong year altogether. There was I can't remember who was saying. Actually, I think Coleman himself said it that he's the healthiest he's been as a Flame. I guess he had some stuff taken care of over the offseason, and it's showing. Like he's playing like he's always played, but he's converting more. So, um, that's a good thing for sure.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And how about Uyghur? Uyghur's had a really strong season altogether. Like really, he's been probably our best defenseman since the All Star break last year.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Um, he's really had a productive season, and he's been our best defender consistently all year. So
Yeah, and
it's
not
it's
even
it's
just with the
been
goals. Like the goals have been coming, which is great because obviously we like that.
yeah,
And the assists have been coming too, but also just the right pinches. Right, he pinches at the right time. He manages to get back after he's pinched pretty
mm,
well. He's got some speed on him. He lays out some hits. I know going into this game, he had the most attempted shots on the entire team,
yeah,
so that helps a lot. Obviously, um, good stuff. Good stuff for
yeah,
McKenzie.
yeah. He's been really good. And how about the holding the line on that goal as well?
Yeah, that was really close. I thought, wasn't it? It was pretty
Yeah,
close, anyways.
yeah. That was really pretty. It was. I mean, I honestly thought it went out until they played it again in slow motion. I thought 100% they were going to be challenging that one, but
Yeah, and
yeah,
I
that
mean, I even put it in our group chat, right? Because it was right after they got that successful challenge for the hand pass or whatever the fuck it was, which I thought was I don't understand why that's even relatively challengeable, but I guess it is. Um, but yeah, no, I thought we did. You know, I thought we did pretty good. And like you said, Uyghur holding on to that puck at the blue line was as close as you can get, and he did it very well. And then shot it
Yeah,
on, and it went in.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. The uh, the play of Hannafin tonight was pretty spot on too. He had that just brutal giveaway near the beginning of the second, right at our blue line. He just kind of tossed it up the ice. I'm not sure who he was throwing it to, but that was just it was a terrible play by him, and I really thought that it was gonna hurt us. Just because usually when you make a gaff like that, it usually comes back to haunt you pretty quickly. So I was surprised that we didn't get any goals against on that play.
Yeah, for sure. And Tanev, man, like, can we stop and talk about Tanev for a little bit? I know that there's been a contract offer for Tanev. I don't think it was a very big one. Or sorry, I don't think it was like good for him because obviously he didn't accept it. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind. Like I'd almost like I'll obviously want to get value, but guys like that teach work ethic and teach it'll set a good example for the players around them, right? And I really think that having him around for longer would be a good thing for the development of our younger defensemen, right? The only thing about that is obviously his age, and he probably wants to win. So
Yeah, I can see that. He's the only one out of our pending UFAs that you can make a case for keeping or signing, to a 1 year deal just to have around any of the guys coming up from the A. Um, he's better than any coach as far as teaching the young guys, as far as I'm concerned. Look what he did for Hughes in Vancouver. The kid is a stud now, and clearly that came from Chris Tanev, or as Ken Reed brought up today, that's Chris Manev.
yeah, I mean, I'm I think Hughes had a lot of natural talent to begin with,
Yeah,
and that's really grown a lot over the years. But I think that his defensive game specifically pretty much was taught by Chris Tanev because he didn't have a defensive game before that.
yeah,
Um, so
yeah.
it's impressive. It's very
Mhm.
impressive.
The play of Markstrom tonight. I don't know, man. His numbers are still pretty bad in my opinion. I mean, he only had 16 shots come at him
I actually
tonight,
thought
and
this was one of his weakest games this year.
yeah, it wasn't good. Obviously, he had that illness a couple days ago. I don't know if he's still suffering from that. It's likely, depending on how bad it was. Nobody knows, but it was bad enough that he had to exit the dome. Half an hour, 45 minutes after he got there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's. I mean, it's good to see Markstrom having a strong bounce back year. Like you said, his numbers aren't nearly as good as it as his play would indicate, in my opinion. And I think that that's
Mhm.
mostly because the team was so bad to start the season,
Yeah,
especially defensively, as far as giving up pucks right in front of the net and exiting the zone badly and then giving the puck up and having odd man rushes against over and over and over. And I still think he played really well through that whole stretch. He just kind of wasn't able to, because through that whole stretch, like even before he had a 900 save percentage on the year, he
mhm.
was one of the top goalies um in the league. I think he was third for a while in goals saved above expected, and I don't really know um how they judge which saves should be expected and which ones shouldn't. I think a lot of it is you know debatable.
Yeah.
Just like most advanced stats, I kind of don't buy into it a lot, but it isn't. It does. You have to take a little bit out of advanced stats, even though you can't take too much out of it. So
I mean, I would suggest that the top analysts in the league would argue against you big time, and it's exactly what GMs use. It's pretty key. Whether we like it or not, or think that it's accurate, it still makes it still make you still have a case for it, right? Like it's it's always going to show you the true makeup of your players,
mhm.
right?
Yeah,
It,
as Chris was saying earlier, and Matt just just said it again. Chris Manev,
it,
uh, guy certainly likes to take pucks off the face, and I saw a funny comment on Reddit today that was basically saying, Chris Tanev turning his head before he blocks a shot is kind of like a caveman learning technology for the first time.
yeah. Yeah, I legit I laughed out loud when Ken Reed said that. Like, it was so funny at the time because they're just they're at the moment they were bitching about uh, challenges and whatnot, and because Reed hates them, he's always hated them. He's very vocal about it. But and then he just quickly transitions into Tanev, and it was one of the funniest things I've heard in a very long time.
Yeah, it's quite funny.
Matt, you need to start getting it trending. Hashtag Chris Manev. Yeah. I think it was the timing and just his delivery. Ken Reed's he's a
Yeah,
beauty for stuff like that.
it was hilarious. Yeah, I guess you're right. They're not giving Huberto back that assist. I definitely didn't see that puck go off two different people, but they apparently they think it did. So Huberto only got two assists, even though he really got four in my eyes. But
Mhm. Yeah, he
he looked good out there
wor-
this game.
he looked really good. He looked really sharp. It was, he made a couple of cross cross rink passes. One of which that was a beauty that went across. The other, I think there was two that he did that didn't get through. But that I shook my head immediately as soon as he did it.
Hmm. How do
What did you
you?
think of our face-offs?
I
It was
wasn't.
bad.
Was it good today? I didn't really.
No,
No, it was pretty bad. It's weird
no,
how
we're at
our
40
faceoffs were really
percent.
good to start the season when we sucked, and then when we started playing better, our faceoffs fell off of the face of the earth.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Backlund, 38.5%.
Oh, that's no good.
Lindholm, 35%. Rizika, 33.3. The only one that was above 50 was Kadri with 54.5, and Greer was 100% on his one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll even give you got to give Kadri some credit because he's really looking rejuvenated playing with Zari, and holy shit, did Zari ever take control of the game right off the start?
Yeah,
Something to see. He
like
was on fire. He came to play, but I do think he needs to work on his conditioning a little bit because as the game progressed, he kind of got a bit slower and slower.
I noticed that
Or
too, but
yeah,
I like you said, I totally agree. He absolutely was, especially in the first and second period, he was making a ton of plays and he was, you know, going in on lots of rushes and skating really fast, making smart plays, making good passes. Yeah, there's not much else you can say. Like Zari has been our best forward period this year, and I don't think it's even relatively close. Like he's like you said, he rejuvenated Kadri. Kadri's looked a lot better, which is good because like he'll never be a $7 million player, but I think that as close as you can get is what we're getting right now. And I'm I mean, you know, when the season started and for the first like 3-4 weeks there, I could not believe how bad Kadri was. So it's really good to see. It's really good to see that he's a bit rejuvenated playing with the kids. Pospisil though, Pospisil kind of almost looks like he could use a game or two off. Say if Coronado came up or if somebody got healthy or something like that.
I think he had a couple of really good plays, really good unique plays, but the game as a whole wasn't great for him.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I'm not sure what's going there. I do really still like his game. I'm a big fan of how he plays.
I am too.
And he's very gritty and he doesn't he's defensively responsible too, which is nice.
He is, and he's
So
big, and he stands in front of the net, which we don't have enough of, but seemed to work pretty good today. So
mhm.
happy about that. Speaking of in front of the net, and I know I've driven the Huberto thing home quite a bit, but how do you feel about Huberto being in front of the net on the power play? Because they've been doing that for a
Well,
couple games now.
yeah, until I started seeing it, I would have argued against it, but I mean, he's a digger.
He's a big
You know,
guy.
he's a big guy. He's hard to move away from the net, which is nice. But I
Yeah,
honestly, I mean, before I witnessed it, I would have said, no dice. He's got to be the guy setting up the play and getting the play or making it happen. But if Kadri's not going to do what I think his job is and stand in front of the net, then you got to have somebody with some ability.
I
I'd be
agree.
okay with Pospisil in that same spot or Zari in that same spot. But yeah, Huberto's been very effective. That first power play was pretty impressive. They pretty much spent the entire 2 minutes in their zone with actual pressure.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
it
it's looked
was nice.
better today than it looked in a month, I think,
Hmm.
at least.
Hmm.
Power
Yeah,
play looked really good today. It's too bad they didn't score, but I think they deserved it.
yeah, yeah. I think they did too. They moved the puck really well. It's just a matter of time. I think at this point, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things, they say with special teams and even with winning or even with losing, like you see the signs of things starting before it actually happens. Like
Yeah.
teams who are on a winning streak, teams tend to start playing a little bit worse for a game or two before they actually lose, and power plays start to really zip it around for 3-4 power plays before they actually score one. So
Yeah. Yeah,
usually.
absolutely. I mean, it's starting to come together, so you can tell that they're working on it. They're making changes to it.
Mhm.
I do like Hannafin on the back end. I think he moves the puck really well and is definitely not afraid to shoot.
He moves himself too, which, like, me, I'm a huge Rasmus Anderson fan, but the more I see him on the power play and his unwillingness to move forward and backwards and to stay only going lateral, the more I want somebody else on there, whether it be Uyghur, who I think would be a good choice, or even Hannafin, who obviously we're showcasing, and the more if he strings together 5, 6, 7 games like that, you know,
Mhm.
his his stock will rise, as Matt says, with his
Hey,
little emoji.
right? We need the rising stock graph. It's a necessity right now.
Mhm.
I mean, because if we don't do that, then we're just going to end up with third round picks from 2048 or whenever the fuck that pick is.
Should we get on the whole? Yeah, that's the
Right,
one,
Matt.
Matt, right there. Should we get on the Zadorov thing?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, right before the game today, about an hour and a half before the game, I guess Zadorov finally got traded to Vancouver, who was on the list of teams that were, expected to be in on him. 2026 third round pick and Chicago's fifth round pick from this year coming back. I know Chris and I disagree on this because Chris likes Zadorov a fuck of a lot more than I do, but I think that
You like dog shit more than you like Zadorov.
I think Zadorov is dog shit. But I think the fact that we gave up a third round pick for Zadorov and we ended up getting a third and a fifth for Zadorov on the way back. So I don't think that it was the most ideal. I think there was probably ways to get better value out of him, but I'm not upset. Like him not being on the team, I think is better for the team, and him and getting a couple picks for him. Like I'm not upset. I think we probably could have squeezed a second rounder out of somebody like in a couple weeks time or whatever. But personally, I also think that he has pissed off the team, and I don't think he was really well. Like this is just me. I have no proof of this, but I think that he kind of alienated himself out of the dressing room to the point where everybody was pissed off, or most of the people were pissed off at him, and he just wasn't comfortable there anyways. So I think that with him getting him out of there as soon as possible was probably best for the team. So I'm not really upset with it. As much as I like what Zadorov has to say, that's the main thing with Zadorov for me that I liked was what he had to say, and I mostly agreed with what he had to say. But what do you think?
I think he's been our best second or third defenseman all season long. Um, and I do believe that his complaint about not getting the ice time has been valid because I think he should have been promoted during those stretches where Anderson was playing like shit, Tanev was playing like shit. Hanifin went through quite a long stint where he wasn't looking great either. Um, that being said, I mean, sure, he was on the third line or third pairing. I get it. I think the return is shit, mostly because third round pick in 3 drafts from now from a team that's on the rise is just going to get worse and worse as the years go by, and I feel like that's going to end up being like a 25th picked in the third round.
Yep.
So I think my issue with the return isn't necessarily that it was a third and a fifth, it's that it's the third in 3 drafts. That's where my complaint is on that.
So here's my other opinion on that, and that I can kind of agree with. Like I'm not super pumped on it being a few drafts from now. But I mean, also I don't know if like a Hughes repeat or a Pedersen repeat from the seasons they've had thus far is really super realistic in the long run. But we'll see. I don't think that we're going to keep that pick. I think that it's going to be used almost like not in as a throw in, but as an addition to improve the return on another player or to bring in somebody who Conroy wants to bring in, that extra third round pick is just going to be used as that. I doubt we're going to actually use it. I mean, I think we should be using our picks for the next few years, but I don't think that's how it's going to go with that specific pick. That's just that's pure speculation, though. That's just me shooting the shit.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. We'll time will tell on that. If they can use it to turn around and actually acquire first for Hannafin or Lindholm, then sure. I guess I would buy into that, but yeah, that's my biggest complaint. I think the return is garbage because of the length on that third,
which is fair.
But that's where I'm at on that. I think Saturday's going to be interesting. I would imagine the majority of the Flames players had better keep their fucking head up, because I would imagine that he's going to be looking for someone, and we all know that he can dole out a lot of punishment in the in the defensive zone up against the board. So
no, I totally agree with that, and definitely keep their head up. But at the same time, I have watched Nikita Zadorov long enough that I can confidently say that if we win against Vancouver, we're going to score at least one goal with Zadorov trying to headhunt somebody. Well, where he's just completely out of position because he's trying to make a point or trying to impress the Vancouver crowd or whatever. And he's going to leave Tyler Myers, who I think is probably going to end up, what a huge pair that is, but who's going to probably end up being his partner all alone. And we all know how shit Tyler Myers is at defense. So at least for his contract, but would be very interested to see. You know what? That's going to be a fun game. That's going to be a really fun game.
I think it was going to be a fun game regardless. But I think that just adds another element to it. One of the things that I'm not super happy about as far as trading him away is we now became a lot softer of a team.
That I'll give you that.
The Western style of hockey almost requires to have a couple of guys that are big hitters, and we really don't have any now at all, right? I mean, we've got a couple of guys that will hit on occasion, but nothing nothing punishing as far as that goes. Like Zadorov was that guy. So anybody
he was our only big hitter.
As far as big hits, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You got Gilbert. Yeah, he can push out some punishment and stuff like that. But I think that's one of the elements that I'm going to truly miss from him. I'm also going to miss the fact that he had what appeared to be about a 27-foot reach with that stick, because his ability to reach around and take the puck away from you was pretty impressive in a lot of occasions.
Yeah. See, I see the positives in him just as much as everybody else does, I think. I think the negatives stand out for me a lot more than they do with other people. Whether it's the penalties, whether it's the being out of position, which he really looked like he was getting better at until this year, in my opinion. And
yeah, I
really,
think like most people, he was struggling with that zone defense. I think it's completely different than how he's ever played. So I think he struggled with that, just like Tanev has. And Anderson, he's had a couple of moments where he's been decent since coming back from suspension, but other than that, he has not been the same player at all.
Yeah, I thought Rasmus had a good game today and the last game. I thought he was actually a lot better than he has been. But you're right. Since suspension, it's been his worst stretch, I think, in like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Unfortunately, because again, I'm a huge Rasmus fan, but hopefully he can step it up soon. I think that suspension made him second guess his first thought instead of just doing what it comes naturally to him. He like second guesses himself now.
Yeah, which is weird. I mean, obviously, go ahead and second guess yourself on doing stupid shit like that hit. But I mean, like it's almost ruined him as a defender since then. I mean, obviously, I don't believe that he's going to continue to be like that, moving
Mhm.
forward in his career. But like the first 5 games, like he was horrendous. Like he was one of the worst skaters on the ice, which is saying a lot because Mangiapane was playing that game.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, and he was making all sorts of like not even pizzas up the middle up the ice, but like
Mhm.
pizzas right into the slot for the opponent. Why the fuck do they call it a pizza anyways?
I don't know. I don't know. The first time I heard it, I remember those years ago, and I was like, well, I'm sorry, a what?
Yeah. Um
I think it's just because you tossed it up, right?
yeah. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Mm.
Um
So, do you think not having Zadorov there tonight is the reason why we didn't have any penalties?
oh yeah, we didn't get one penalty, did we?
Yeah. I mean, Tanev was trying, but ended up giving the penalty shot instead.
Yeah. No, I mean I didn't miss Zadorov, but like I don't even know if he would have taken any penalties. Like I don't think either team was actually particularly good tonight.
No, and I was surprised with the lack of intensity from both teams, like after the whistle and stuff like that. Because we leading up to this game, we've had some pretty decent rivalries
Yeah.
the last
I
couple of years,
I
and
actually
so
really enjoyed the game from an action standpoint, and
yeah,
I think it's because both teams were bad.
yeah, it could be. I mean, like it was a high paced game in a lot of regards, right? Especially
Yeah.
the first period, the way it started out. Um, we held them to one shot in the second, so obviously it was pretty lopsided there. First period was 10-10. Second period was 1-11, and then 5-13. I mean, holding them to 16 shots is pretty good, obviously. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, that being said, they still got 3 goals out of that, right?
Yeah.
Markstrom with the
And
813 save percentage.
and you got to think too, like Tanev blocked what 4 or 5 shots. Like there was 3 shots he blocked on one shift, and
Yeah,
I noticed a couple of our other guys blocking some shots too. So
yeah. Well,
that's good.
at least he turned his head on that one that he jumped in front of with his back.
Yeah, right.
He
Yeah,
almost lost his last tooth there. It was close.
it's really crazy how well they asked him that. I can't remember who asked him that, but somebody asked him that in his media availability today or yesterday, and he said, "Oh yeah, I'm not going to stop. Like it's just
Yeah.
what I do. I don't mean to block it with my face, but if my face is there, then my face is going to take
Yeah.
the puck." It's like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. And he's so blasé about it too, right?
he doesn't give a
But,
fuck.
no, no. It's pretty funny. And Markstrom's comments there after the game on when was that? Tuesday? No, that would have been Monday. Um, he's like he's the toughest person I've ever met. Right?
Yeah,
And and he legit is. Like he's unbelievable. He doesn't care about his own body at all.
no, he doesn't. It's pretty impressive to see. It's unfortunate that he's probably not going to be a Flame much longer, but
Yeah.
you know,
I
it's
get it. I get
understandable
to
because his age, um, doesn't really fit where our team is going in the future.
no.
So
No, his age doesn't fit, and I mean, his body is just it's got to be shutting down. Like he's still doing it, but but I mean, he's going to be a hell of a player for somebody wanting to make a run in the playoffs because I mean he's that type of player if he can you know remain healthy enough to play those games. I mean, if he's able to put skates on, damn well he's going to play them.
And you know that he's like he against Dallas, ironically enough, in the playoffs a couple of years ago, like he played an entire game with his shoulder basically his body, and then he came back like for the last game against Edmonton because he knew that they stood no chance without him, and his shoulder was still hanging off his body. Like his
Yeah.
arm just didn't work.
Yeah, well, didn't they say he couldn't raise his arm up above his shoulder?
Yeah.
Like how do you play playoff hockey like that?
You know, a lot of drugs.
Yeah, I mean, if he gets traded, it's likely he will. I think he's going to be missed in Calgary for sure, and I don't believe the fan base is going to like the return. Um, Obviously, when you take into account, his the point side of things, because that's where the NHL is. Best player is the guy that scores the most or has the most points. Um, the Between the lack of point production and his age, I think I don't know what we're going to get for him. What do you think? What do you think the possibility of us getting a third or a second for Chris Tanev is?
If he is healthy at the deadline,
Yeah.
depending on which team it is, like if it's a team that legitimately thinks they have the goalies and the forwards and like a legitimate top three defense, and they're looking for like that fourth guy,
Mhm.
you get a first round pick for him, which is basically a second because it's going to be like 30th overall, right? But
Yeah.
but if he's like if you trade him before the deadline, he's one of the guys that I'd like to. It's hard because you don't know if he's going to be healthy or not, but like
Mhm.
if you trade him before the deadline, you're getting a lot less because that team's going to be like, well, there's a lot less of a chance that he's going to be healthy for when I need him, you know.
Yeah, well, exactly, and yeah, I think he's exactly the type of player that you want for the playoffs at the deadline. Like
Yeah.
he's if there's five defenders that are kind of available at the deadline, he has to be,
Yeah.
if not the first, it's got to be the second for sure on that list,
Yeah.
no
So
matter
so
who
there's
in
a
that list is.
caveat there to us getting a first, in my opinion, for him. And that's that we'd be taking a year of bad salary and slash or holding half of his salary to make the money work.
Mhm.
Um, but you're probably right when it comes to like just straight up value. If you're not holding any money or not taking anything bad back, you're probably getting a second for him. Well, what do you think you're getting for him?
I mean, I'm thinking a second for sure. But you're right. At the deadline, people overpay, which is
Mhm.
could be good for the Flames. I have no problem bringing back a bad contract for a couple of months. I mean, it's what it is, right? We're not making the push right now. I mean, obviously you can't tell the players that because they're certainly trying. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
right?
I could see there being a first in that mix if we take it, especially if we take a bad contract back. And his contract at 4.5 is I mean it's not terrible for somebody that you can easily slot into your second pairing.
Yeah. No, I agree. So here, like, just hear me out for a second here. Like, I'm the team I would be looking at that could pick up Tanev is New Jersey, and the reason is because they have Jonas Siegenthaler, Luke Hughes, and Dougie Hamilton and then like a bunch of fringe NHLers,
Right.
right? Like John Marino, who you know, is all right, I guess. Brendan Smith, who's a healthy scratch every other game. Colin Miller, who I believe was on waivers like last year or something. Like they that's who they're running right now. And they could really use and their goalies need help, right? Like their goalies
Mhm.
need a guy
Well,
who
of
can
course they do. And
actually
that
stand. What's that?
if that's the defenders that are in front of you, of course the goalies need help. They obviously
Well,
would desperately need somebody that knows how to actually play defense.
well, that's the thing. Like
Mm,
Kevin Ball is their other guy who seems to be stepping it up and doing pretty good, but he's
mhm.
also, a fresh face. And Jonas Siegenthaler, I think, is a little bit underrated. I think he's actually a pretty good defenseman. But I like
Yeah.
with Dougie Hamilton out, they've got Jonas Siegenthaler on their first pair with Hughes. And that's, for a team that's supposed to be a contender, they could probably use another player or two who know how to play defense.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we've experienced Dougie Hamilton. Like, if you want to talk about players that aren't good at playing defense, he's a good point producer, but I think he's a terrible defender.
I couldn't agree more.
Mm,
I've heard a lot of people argue with me that he's been a lot better over the past couple of years, which some guys really pick it up defensively as they get older. But
mhm.
man, he was in Calgary. He was tough to watch whenever he wasn't on the power play. And he's not even power play one there. He's power play
Yeah,
two. So,
yeah,
which I think is a
yeah,
mistake on their part because he's outscoring Luke Hughes by quite a bit, and he's power play two, and Hughes is power play one.
yeah. That's true. Yeah, I mean that could be. I could see Jersey doing that, right? Because they're trying real hard to make a push. I just don't see them as a team that's going to be able to accomplish it.
I totally agree. Well, I know. Why don't you think they'd be able to accomplish it?
I just don't think they're past the second round caliber myself.
Well,
I don't know.
fair, fair enough. I mean, I if they had Tanev, like I think if they had Tanev, they or Hannafin even, I think they would probably be a second round, maybe third round team. Um, I mean, I had them in the finals, honestly, to start the season. I thought they were going to be in the finals, and they came out swinging. Like they played really well for the first few weeks of the season there, and then they pretty much just dropped off when Jack Hughes got hurt. But
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I mean they're way down, right?
yeah,
Yeah, they're.
um,
I suppose in order to become a cup contender, you have to make the playoffs first.
that is very true. Um,
That's the one rule.
what else? I want to talk about something else. Do you think Markstrom is going to be traded? Do you think that that's like a realistic thing?
I think. I mean, I think he wants to win a cup. I don't know that he's got that in him. I think if he does get traded, he's not going to go somewhere and be the number one guy. Play the 55 games, that sort of thing, and there could potentially be room for him to be a 1A 1B type scenario. But
Yeah,
I mean, anybody that's looking for a cup right now already has goaltending. So if a team ends up with their goalie with a significant injury, then sure, I could see it definitely.
Well,
but I just can't see them. I just can't see anybody trading for him to kind of be the backup or even a 1B, right? That's a lot of salary. Still got a couple of years left on it. So,
yeah,
I mean, sure, we could retain a bunch of it, but we're only allowed 3. We can only do that 3 times, and we've got 2 other contracts that are expiring that I think we're going to need to retain some to get just to up that
that
return.
value a little bit.
Yeah.
So teams like I could see the Leafs wanting to upgrade their goaltending because their goaltending has been just atrocious this year. But
This
other than
year.
that, you're probably right for teams that actually think they're really good. Other than Edmonton, who isn't really good but has been turning it on.
Mhm.
Detroit, maybe. Like I don't think they're in buy mode either, but
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think Detroit's quite there yet, right?
no. I mean, they're there enough to go and get Patrick Kane, but
Sure.
yeah,
I don't know if Patrick Kane's the guy that takes you to the next level, though.
not at this point in his career, coming off of a hip injury, hip surgery that just ended Backstrom's career and ended Jovanovski's career, and guys, anybody who's come back from it and played well took a couple of years to get back to where they were, and most people who came back from it ended up retiring in short order. So see what happens there. I'm not a
Yeah.
I'm a big Patrick Kane fan on the ice, but I can't get over the whole I can't get over Patrick Kane as a person and um the whole Chicago thing that seems to now be spanning for like 20 years.
Well, I mean, they're just such a model organization,
Mm-hmm.
or not. Yeah, they're bad.
Yeah. Um. Well, is there anything else you wanted to say, or is that pretty much it for this?
That's probably it for this one.
Yeah.
It was a fun game to watch. Because the pace was pretty nice. It was refreshing. I I really do appreciate what Zari's been able to accomplish since coming up. He's been really refreshing.
Yeah.
I knew he was going to be, or I thought he was going to be something, you know, special, if you will. I didn't think he was going to be this good.
Me neither. At least not right away. Like he
Yeah.
is so fun to watch, and
Mhm.
he's really been, like I said, he's been our best forward, and he's driven a line. He's rejuvenated the veteran. He's um, basically Zari coming up is when the Flames started playing better. Um,
Yeah.
and I credit a lot of that to the energy he brought. Like,
Mhm.
you know, it's
Yep.
exciting to see, and it's exciting to see somebody who, as a I try to limit expectations a lot because I've been around for the Sven Barchis and the Emile Poiriers and the um I could go on, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just
There's a long list.
yeah, it's just nice to see that somebody's coming up, and I figured he'd probably eventually grow into a second line role, but now I'm kind of thinking he may end up being well, he's already a second liner and he's our
Mhm.
best second liner. So I'm thinking he might end up being like a top liner one day. It would be really like I'm not going to hold my breath on it,
Mhm.
but it's very possible in my opinion. He's
Yeah.
driven play that well.
Yeah. Top 6 for sure. Right.
Mhm.
He's been our best forward in numerous games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in pretty much every game. I think he's been our best forward every game he's played except 3 of the last 4.
Yeah, that's fair. He kind of went on a bit of a dip there, which from what we understand, he was suffering from a bit of an injury. So it certainly looked like whatever was ailing him before, he's gotten over, because he looked real sharp to start this game.
100%.
Yeah.
All right, well,
All right, man. It's been fun.
cheers.
Let's keep it rolling, everybody. Let's go Flames.